questions. Yeah, go ahead. Don't worry, I won't sit here in silence. Yeah. I feel a little bit better today.
Obviously, the last time we saw you, it was an emotional moment.
Yeah.
Coming back now, a few days later, how do you sort of synthesize what this team went through, what it did, what it accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be able to enjoy and even celebrate many victories along the way, and enjoy seasons, even if they don't necessarily end in a win. You know, in 2 weeks, what will there be? 8 teams that'll be sitting there. 10 days will be sitting there like us, and then 4 teams, and only one team finishes the season with a win. Everybody else, at some point, is disappointed with that final loss. But if we're able to reflect on it, you're able to reflect on a group that came together as strangers, really come together and develop a sense of community, of team, and it became a season that we'll remember. You know, there's some seasons that don't necessarily imprint on your mind. This will be a season that a bunch of strangers that came together in October, that we'll see each other years from now along the NBA road, in the NBA circles, and be able to have that bond. That's special, and that was created by being pushed to the brink, being able to handle adversity, get to know each other when the circumstances are not great. That's when you really get to know somebody, and then form a stronger bond from that. So that's something we can all be proud of. Our group can walk proudly through this city. I think our city really embraced this team. I think the way this team competed and played with an honor is something that the Heat Nation could really relate to and respond to in a positive way. But just some of the feedback that every one of the players have gotten the last few days, and staff, including myself, has been one of pride, of a city feeling pride about a way a team competed and played for each other.
Erik, when you talk about how this group can come back here and be proud of what they did and all of that, I know it's only been a few days, but how hopeful are you that the core will be back together next season? Because it seems like they want to in the immediate.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a long way until this summer, and I think it's okay to still reflect and embrace how unique this season was. I think so often all of us fall prey to what's next, and what is the future. And you're not able to enjoy and be present, and you miss a lot of great things. I've learned a lot from this season, and one of those things is to really be present, which has allowed all of us to be able to really enjoy this experience together. It doesn't necessarily, games don't have to. Our organization is not going to change. We are hardwired to play and compete for championships. It's the most difficult thing you can do in this profession. But that doesn't mean every other season is lost, and that there isn't something meaningful from those seasons. I think our guys will be able to really understand that. Summer, it'll happen. Hopefully this is ... continued, and we can build on this. But all those discussions are literally months away. We've been able to reflect. I think all of us will be able to unplug, as difficult as that'll be. I think that'll be great. I survived one full day this weekend, just unplugging the phone. somewhat liberating. I think if I would have made it 2 or 3 days, it could have been very liberating. But I think, as I unplug the next couple of weeks, hopefully that I can build on that. But I'm going to recommend the same thing to our players, how unrealistic that may be.
Talks to the players? They had talked to the players already?
No, not yet.
Oh, you have not?
I will,
okay.
yeah.
What will you spoke a little bit about it. What will the message be on moving forward? And so many can get caught up in where am I going to be in July? Where am I going to be in August?
Yeah,
so
again,
how the next 2 months? How
again,
will that message?
You're getting out of the present, and you sometimes can get lost in the future of things that you don't know how they'll turn out. As much as you think you know, you don't know. And I think it's just a much healthier existence to stay in the present. But certainly today is, we like to call it, and it's actually different than how we used to do it. This is a clean up day, not clean out day. Okay, so lockers are still going to be there. We want our guys to still feel at home here. Free agency is going to happen. A lot of our players are going to have free agent possibilities or opportunities in July. But that's July. Once our staff gets away and able to unplug, we're going to be back in here, and we're going to encourage our guys to come back and continue to work to get better and build on this. But we're not taking down their lockers or their name tags and shipping all their gear. Practice gear, shoes will be there, and hopefully we'll have guys, even the ones that have free agent triggers, will be back working out with us in after a few weeks.
Do you let your mind wander to what if Dion would have stayed healthy? What if would have won one more game? Could have been in the playoffs.
I'm crazy enough in my own mind. All the discussions going on, that only makes it worse. I mean, I think that's part of what defined this group. It was like one of those great tragedies that you watch or read. The ones that are the classics, you remember them. They imprint some kind of emotion out of you. A ton of adversity against all odds, and then ended, not the way you wanted it to, but the imprint is still there. So I think a lot of the adversities that we went through, it made us who we are and who we were, particularly those last few weeks. One of the more mentally tough teams I'd been around. But I think we had to go through that journey of some of the adversity. And I really don't want the narrative to be the classic uneducated narrative would be, oh, boy, if you just won the New York game. That's so uneducated. That's so lazy, that narrative. If you just would have gotten the Orlando game. Any of these games that, hey, you're supposed to win. For the people that are in the business, it never works out that way. Okay, we got a lot of tough road wins that maybe if you're actually playing that game, that you're not Xing those games or check marking that saying, oh, that's a win. No, I mean, that's why you play an NBA schedule. Is because you don't know what the result will be. There's always surprises virtually every single night. And that's why Vegas makes a ton of money. Nobody knows. You can predict it, but it could have been any one of those games, and I don't think our guys should have any regret because the games that people say that, hey, we should have won, it wasn't like our guys didn't come out and compete. We just got beat, and that's the nature of the game. Maybe there were some other ones that I think, hey, maybe we needed to go 12-29. One of those where we had one extra guy. I always think to that Phoenix game. In Phoenix, we played with, ended up playing 7 guys, but literally right before the game, Tyler is throwing up, has a migraine. JJ is throwing up and has, food poisoning. They're trying to play. I think that probably would have given us enough. We had a 10-point lead virtually most of the game and ran out of gas. But I could point to about 10 of different one of those, and ultimately you are who your record is, and that's for a reason. That's why those 82 games matter. But going through some of those struggles, I really do believe it developed that toughness, it developed the grit, it developed our ability to not make excuses and find a stronger bond and path that led us to some success. If we didn't go through that, I don't know necessarily if we would have had the mental toughness, or if this group would have really connected. I mean, you're talking about something that's really challenging to do, is bring a bunch of strangers together and form a sense of community and team and family as quickly as you possibly can. Well, probably one of the quickest ways to do it, and probably one of the more risky ways to do it, is here's some adversity. How do you deal with that? Now, the flip side of that is that's also the easiest way to go your separate ways. So it was a fine balance, but I think that did ultimately help us for that stretch run.
Erik, one of the players you didn't have who could have been a difference maker, and I know you always say we have enough and you move forward, but were there times when you step back and you said, if Justice Winslow here with that hot hand defensively as a stopper, rotation-wise, are there times you thought about what Justice could have been during the season, and are there times now you think about what Justice can be going forward?
Probably more so now. I didn't allow myself to play that game during the season. It would have been too maddening, and it couldn't help. So we were all solution-based during the season. But yeah, certainly. Justice coming off of the summer that he had, and if he was able to play a full season and not have not just the shoulder injury, but the wrist injury coming out of preseason, would have had a major impact on this team. I thought he had a terrific summer along with Jay Rich. Everybody you talked to coming out of Orlando, they were two of the top 3 to 4 players in that summer league, and people really commenting of, wow, they followed up an impressive rookie year with a great, not good, but great summer league, then a full summer of development. Both of them were ready to, make that next jump, and they both got hurt, unfortunately. So you just never know how those sliding doors work. But I haven't forgotten the potential and what we can build on this summer. Justice brings a tremendous amount of versatility, of defense, of toughness, of winning plays, the things that we emphasize. He fills in a lot of those intangible gaps. He knows how to impact winning. That certainly, could have made an impact. I was going through all the things, starting my autopsy of the season, and then you realize, oh boy, was it really only 18 games? Yeah, with Dion, did he miss really that many, games? 20 plus games. Wow, did Wayne really miss that many games? And you go on down the line, Jay Rich, 20 plus games. Then you realize, wow, the only really guys that were staples that you could put in ink every single night were Hassan Gorn and a guy that none of us had planned on being that guy, Rodney Magruder, coming out of training camp. Everybody else was dealing with some kind of adversity during the year. So if all those guys were available, then I would have been dealing with a lot of different managerial personality challenges, and I would have welcomed that because we had a lot more depth. But who knows how that would have impacted the season.
Erik, I think it was around the time that Shaq's jersey was retired. Pat was asked about Hassan and where he was in his growth.
Yep.
And he said he still had a ways to go before becoming that franchise player.
Yeah.
What we saw over that second half has Hassan become the franchise player now here?
You can define it however you want. He has an opportunity to be one of the greats in this league. And that's what our franchise needs from him. I think the growth that he's made the last 3 years has been staggering. And as long as you were able to step out and look at big picture, where he was the first year, the jump to the second year, and the tremendous jump not only from the first 3 months of this year, but then to the last 3 months, it really is staggering, his improvement. And why would we put a ceiling on him? Why should he put a ceiling on where he could go? And he's such a lightning rod for attention. Sometimes when you are looking at it day to day or week to week, you miss some of the improvement. But he really impacted winning more than he ever has. I think he can be a dominant impact player next year, but he has a lot of work to do this summer. He's not afraid of working. He's not afraid of sweating. He's not afraid of putting in the time. And if he continues on this track, who knows where he can go.
Erik, to go back to the health situation for a minute,
Yeah.
how other than Dion, of course, how do you think you came out of the year, and do you expect guys to need some cleanups, need some little procedures, or for the most part, do you think you came out?
Well, I think
okay?
actually for the most part, that's a great question because, unfortunately and fortunately, a lot of these injuries were taken care of, and they just need a little bit of time. Dion probably would be ready to play if we had to play this weekend. That first game, I think he would have been ready. Full 100%, probably not, but he definitely would have been out there. So we've had other seasons, including, last year, that and coming off finals years where the next day guys are already going into surgery. Knock on wood, I don't think we'll have any of that. I think Justice is way ahead of schedule. The big thing with him will be patience and tempering, trying to get back out there and play too fast. The injuries that we had, guys, I think just need a little bit of time. And I think the positive of it is I think we should probably have guys back in the gym, early summer.
Going back to Hassan, how much of that growth was maturity? I mean, there was so much said about that in his maturity, and you had teachable moments, for lack of another word, during the season.
All of it. And it's different things each day and each week and each month. But also when you get invested emotionally into a team, I think that was a big trigger with Hassan. He was emotionally invested in the well-being of his teammates and really wanted his teammates to succeed. That then translated into him really wanting to impact winning and to dominate the paint on both ends for his teammates. That was powerful, but that also catapulted him to an extremely high level of basketball. And we want to continue to leverage that. But yes, he had a lot of teachable moments. He had some very tough teachable moments the first couple of years. Some of that this year, but more growth in other areas and wanting his team to win and learning how to help a team win in all the detail areas and effort and discipline areas. But he can be as good as he commits and wants to be. And I think that's exciting for Heat Nation. It's exciting for this franchise. And I don't see any reason why he can't continue to improve the way he has each of the last 3 years.
Erik, obviously there were a lot of reasons for 30 and 11 on the defensive side foremost, but it also coincided with shooting threes a lot better. And with Justice, was there enough progress last summer? Obviously, you can't gauge anything from the 18 games because of the wrist. Was there enough shooting progress last summer where you think he could be a 3-and-D ultimately?
Yes, and he can create that game. So I think people get caught up in so much of the wrong bucket or the wrong narrative. We're not trying to develop Justice Winslow to become Chris Mullin. He's a totally different basketball player. So if you want to talk about 3-and-D, well, one thing he can do is impact defensively and take away threes because of his ability to defend 1 through 5, and that's unique in this league. He can generate threes for you offensively because he puts a lot of pressure on the paint off the dribble in transition. He's an aggressive, physical bruising type of player, and he sees the floor. That helps create your three-point game. But I don't want the focus to be on how many threes he makes. He'll make enough. He's dedicated enough to work on that, but it'll be about getting into world-class shape, getting healthy, so he can make all the plays that he needs to that impact and help your team win. And then it'll be my job to put him in spots where he can be efficient and find small victories and build on those right away. And I think we would have. Particularly if he didn't have the wrist injury, I think he would have been an efficient offensive player. It might have looked differently than people would have wanted him to be, but we would have found those successes and built on that and found a way. He'll find a way to help your team, and we would have found a way to put him into his strengths, and then build on some of the weaknesses. But his weaknesses, whatever they perceived ones are, that will not be our focus this summer. It'll be his strengths and getting him to those strengths. Being in world-class, upper echelon shape and health will be a big priority.
Erik, with their development and the way they performed in the second half, do you believe this group has or had the potential to compete for a championship?
You're asking the wrong guy. You ask anybody in the Miami Heat, we think any team. This is what we're trying to build every single year. This is how we are hardwired. So yes, we do feel that if this group gets a chance to ... be continued, yes.
Coach, with the way James Johnson kind of emerged with you guys this season, was his development and kind of emergence a surprise to you guys from the summer? And was there anyone else that kind of surprised you this year?
Yeah, we really tried to refrain from judgment early on with the player. So we really liked his potential and his versatility, and we respected him when we saw him with different teams. Thought that his skill set could be interesting with the way we play, but you never know. It took him committing to himself and to this craft and to this profession like he never has before. And the timing was right. It was a beautiful thing to see. It was one of the most gratifying things I've seen in my coaching tenure, is to see somebody that has been kicked around and had dreams and didn't necessarily know the path to be able to get to the dreams and to become the player that he always envisioned he wanted to become and had the potential to become. The timing was right. It was a great fit for us, and it was a great fit for him. And the timing of this summer, and because of everything he'd been through and because of where we were, that everything aligned. But it was great to go through that process together, because ultimately why we're in this profession is we're here to help. We're here to serve. We're here to help players chase their dreams. And we find most gratification when we're serving. And we felt we were able to help him get on the right track, but ultimately it was him. The environment, I think it was something that he took to. And we are very open-minded to where the potential, where that could lead. But we're also conscious of not putting ceilings on it. And he did. His role grew. His role from November to December to where it was at the end of the year was significantly different. You wouldn't have recognized the same player. He could only play 15 to 18 minutes at that level anyway because of the conditioning at the beginning of the year. He wasn't able to play at an intensity level higher than those minutes. And at the end of the year, he's playing at the highest level for 35-plus minutes and starting. He wasn't able to do that, but if he didn't have an opportunity to grow and to prove he could do more, to earn it, to consistently get in better shape every month, work to get his weight down, to get in world-class shape, it was great to see, somebody earn more opportunities, and then ultimately to be able to be a big part of a team not just with his play, but his voice. I think the whole culture and the environment is something that really resonates with him.
Coach, going back to Whiteside, other than all of the above, any one or two specific skill sets that you want to improve on him over the summer that that would make him even more impactful, like passing maybe or footwork or something under the post or something that you guys want to develop
we'll
on?
work on those fundamentals. I mean, certainly I think his ability to post up efficiently within the context of an offense, and to be able to make the right reads and be able to have a consistent go-to move down there. That'll require sweat equity, putting in the time in the gym, which he's not afraid to do, and being very efficient with what we're working on. I think, again, with Hassan, world-class conditioning and shape. Again, I think that's where he was at the end of the year. I think you look at him and he looks like a freak of nature. But to come into camp, healthy this year, which he did not have an opportunity to last year, I think we'll give him a jump start, hopefully on the season.
Last couple guys.
Erik, you've seen a lot of guys come in here and play hard all year long, play with grit for many different guys. Can you talk about what Goran gave you this year and the different type of player he was and just what he did for this, what he meant to this team?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up one of the backcourt guys, which that was a beautiful thing to see too, because we didn't necessarily know where that backcourt would evolve to, but to see the music that they made together, which was better than what either one of them could do by themselves, was really cool to see. But Goran, seeing his growth, I think he's always been a player that just wanted to impact the game with his force of nature, and with his will to win. This was, in my mind, his best year, his career best year. Not only by the numbers, because it was his most efficient year, and he really was our most consistent driving force throughout each month. But his leadership really grew out of necessity this year, and he was so uncomfortable doing it, but he saw that this group needed it. He became more vocal. He not only led by example, but with his voice, held guys accountable, did things that I don't think he ever imagined that he would ever be required to do. And to see that kind of growth of a guard, has been awesome to see, and to see his personal gratification, because he knows that he's a much different player now than how he used to be, and even the way he competes defensively. He's a guy that we put on 1 through 3. There rarely was a situation where okay, we're not putting on him for X, Y, or Z reason. No, you got to guard your matchup, or hey, you got to guard bigger, or hey, you got to switch onto a 4. He embraced our defensive culture. He's become a more than reliable two-way player. It's not somebody you're trying to hide, because of his toughness and his length and his willingness to compete and his willingness to buy into a system. So that's been cool to see.
I hate to lump this question all together just because we're running short on time, but the guys we didn't get to, Rodney, Jay Rich, Tyler, the improvements they made and areas that you're encouraging them to get better at individually.
Yeah, I mean, without taking too much time into the minutia of, that's what we do. We'll put together a program. That doesn't mean that we're always right on with the program, but we'll put together 2 or 3 things with each guy that we're trying to improve. Rodney will be relentless as he's ever been, as anybody has ever been in our building. So he'll continue to evolve his game like he has. I think his ability now to put the ball on the floor and make plays is something that we tried to utilize at the end of the year. His 3-point spacing already has dramatically improved in 3 summers with the Heat. I remember watching him in his first summer league 3 years ago. and we liked his competitiveness, but he was an absolute non-shooter at that time. He willed himself. Well, if there's a 10,000-hour rule, he broke the doors off that one. That's 20,000 hours in a short period of time to be able to will that three-point spacing, and now he'll be a knockdown shooter by next year. Jay Rich will just want him to continue on the plan that he had last summer. That might be one of the most disappointing things of this season, is not to see the opportunity for Jay Rich and Justice healthy at training camp. They were both ready with earned hours and confidence from those hours in our building last year. So we're not going to reinvent it or overthink it. We're going to try to build on what they did last year. I think you'll see great improvement again, but probably the improvement that was there last year. And Tyler, same thing. I think, I was going through all the numbers again on Friday, and Tyler's really played effectively 2 years in this league. But he has 3 years in our system. But again, he is 26 games before last year. So this year, to be able to do that, to be one of the top 5 reserve scorers, and somebody who absolutely is a two-way player. The way he defends is unique. That's 1 through 3. But to be able to have that kind of jump from 26 games, that really essentially was his rookie year. I think more people would be talking about it if they saw it in that kind of context, coming off a rookie year to jump into, or maybe people are skewed by the contract. But if you're talking about somebody jumping from a rookie year amount of games, bundled up into 2 of the seasons, to being a top 5 bench scorer, that's pretty remarkable. And that's a testament to his work ethic. He's in the gym and he's very dedicated to getting better. And I can guarantee you that'll be the same this summer.
Erik, once you get through draft and free agency and all that stuff, anything cool this summer for you? Philippines on the agenda or anything like that?
Not Philippines. I'm actually working on another trip. So I can't say right now because I don't know if it's coming through. But then I'll be visiting all the people that knew, different coaches and leaders, as I always do, that you'll never get a story about. You guys never found out who I talked to last year. Anything else?
Who was it? Who'd you talk to last year?
Yeah, right. No, go ahead. Yeah, we got a little bit of time.
Thanks, Erik. Just going to ask you about Dion. Does he just scratch the surface with his unique ability to get in the paint? We saw his defensive game develop under you and your staff. How much more is there? I know you don't put a ceiling on players.
Yeah, we don't. But I put him in the same category as James. We want to be open to all the improvement. I think the timing was, again, right for a player that had been kicked around, never had felt that he was maximized to where he could be, and an environment that we felt that maybe could bring something different. And we're not saying we do it better than anybody, but just an environment that might be the right fit to be able to bring something different or more out of Dion. And I think it was a great fit. And I think if we're able to build on that, I think you'll see continued growth. I definitely wouldn't want to put a ceiling on him. And again, there's a lot of time, before we get there. But it was a joy to be around him and coach him. And it was a little bit disappointing that he wasn't able to get 75 plus games in there. I think we would have had a better chance to all of us be able to see what he's capable of.
And the efficiency as a player for Dion obviously improved some. Is there still a big jump that you could see?
Yeah, why not?
Make in terms of efficiency.
Why not? We believe that in all of our players, and to be able to chase that championship trophy, it requires so much, and so that would be a necessity. Yeah. All right. Just want to thank you all for everything this year. I do appreciate it. Yeah, it's a good group, and I like the respect. I see how it is sometimes, and and other places. I'm not afraid of any storyline, but I do appreciate you guys. Okay.
Thanks, Eric.